Hey everyone! Do you ever have those games where your team loses their lanes, then the enemy team groups up and starts owning team fights because they're ahead? Those kinds of games can be tricky to deal with, but if you're playing a champion that is strong in a side lane, split push is the answer. So that's what we're going to be teaching you today, when and how to split push. Split pushing works best on any champion that can hold their own in a side lane. Hold their own doesn't just mean 1v1 though, it also means that you can potentially 2v1 or at least escape if the enemy jungler comes for you. Some good examples would be assassins like Zed, Fizz, and Diana, but some mages also work well in side lane because they have good escapes and 1v1 potential like Lissandra or Ryze. So now that we know what kinds of champions should be split pushing, let's talk about how to do it. When you're playing a champion that does well in a side lane, you should break down both team comps while you're loading into the game, so you can decide what your gameplay should be at each stage. Let's use a gameplay from Febivin, an EU West challenger where he's playing Ryze. So on Febivin's team, he has Shen top, Kindred jungle, Xayah ADC, Sona support, and himself on Ryze. Then the enemy team has Teemo top, Vel'Koz mid, Nidalee jungle, Sivir ADC, and Yuumi support. We can't tell you should always split at this time or that time because every league game is different and very situational, but we're going to try to make it as simple as possible. And one of the most common ways to decide if you should be split pushing is by thinking about which team has better team fighting. So out of these two teams, who do you think wins in a 5v5 where everyone is even in gold? Pause the video if you need time to think. So this should have been a pretty difficult choice, because on Febivin's team, he has Sona and Kindred, who are pretty good team fighters. But the other team has Vel'Koz, Sivir, and Yuumi, who are also very strong in 5v5 scenarios. We would give the edge to the blue team for this one, but Febivin's team can easily win a 5v5 if his team has winning lanes. Either way, we're going to say the blue team just about wins 5v5 fights. But if you think about how the mid matchup goes in a side lane, it's heavily in Ryze's favor. Vel'Koz is a teamfight mage who has no escape in a side lane and can easily be dove, while Ryze has plenty of movement speed and shields, plus he has his ult if he needs to get away. This means it's a good game for Ryze to be split pushing. Also, when trying to think about this stuff, you have to take into consideration wave clear. If Febivin's team tries to group up as 5 and take a tower, Sivir and Vel'Koz would clear the wave instantly, so it would be impossible. Which is another reason why this game is perfect for split pushing. Alright, now that you know when to split push, let's get into the gameplay to show you how it's done. We're going to start here when the enemy team sends 5 bot lane, taking the tower while Febivin stays mid and takes this tower. Also, the enemy Teemo already took Febivin's tier 1 top tower. This puts the enemy team about 4,000 gold ahead at 15 minutes, which is actually a really large amount. This is what we mean by situational though. We talked about before how either team could win a team fight, but we gave the slight edge to the other team. Now that we know the enemy team is winning the early game, it's safe to say they definitely win team fights now. Alright, now that the enemy team has bot and top tower, you know they are coming from mid next. We have all been in this position before, where the enemy bot rotates to mid and starts sieging the tower and it's really annoying to deal with. Well, you're not alone because it happens in Challenger 2 like we can see here. The good thing is, Febivin cleared the minion waves so they couldn't take the tower yet, but it cost him his flash. His bot lane finally rotates over though, so he stays mid for about 20 more seconds to try and contest Dragon. The enemy team gets it too fast, so he starts recalling, thinking he's going to catch the top wave that's about to crash. There are 2 reasons he wants to be top right now. 1, Dragon was just taken, so there are no objectives on the bottom side of the map. And 2, Shen is Shen. We all know how his ult works. He wants to push a side wave, then ult into the fight. So let's say Herald was down, but Dragon was up. Then it would be better to split push bot lane and have Shen go top. Anyways, he goes top and starts pushing in the waves all the way to the tower. Now watch how the enemy team reacts to this top pressure. They send Nidalee and Teemo top at first, while Febivin and Kindred kite away since they don't know where the rest of the enemy team is. But look at the minimap. The 2 main carries, Vel'Koz and Sivir, aren't here because one is catching waves and one is pushing mid. So now this team that excels at 5v5 fights is completely spread out and not grouped. Let's keep going though. The enemy team disengages, so Febivin keeps pushing top to keep up the pressure while trading with Vel'Koz if he walks up too close. While that was happening, Shen took bot tower and ulted in to help his team with the fight that is going on at Herald. And because Febivin is shoving in top, Vel'Koz is stuck here collecting waves, not there to help his team with the 5v5. I'm sure you're wondering though, why can't Vel'Koz just clear the wave really fast with his strong wave clear, then go and help his team? Well, this is why champions like Vel'Koz can't be in a side lane. what will happen is Rise will push in the wave, then start moving down towards the fight. Then Vel'Koz will clear the wave and start moving as well. But since Rise will be about 5 to 10 seconds ahead of Vel'Koz, he'll see Vel'Koz moving and he'll cut him off and fight him in the jungle, and Vel'Koz will lose that fight. This will be the same if Rise was Zed, Fizz, Echo, or any of the other champions we said were good at split pushing. Control mages get owned if they are caught in the jungle by an assassin or something like Rise. Anyways, this gets his team their first teamfight win, while Febiven uses his ult to dive Vel'Koz from the bad trade he took earlier. This was obviously a huge comeback play as they got 5 kills for only 1 death. Then on top of that, they get Baron right after, swinging the gold back to even. All it took was one macro decision from Febiven to leave mid and start pressuring a side lane so the enemy team spread out and couldn't use their strong teamfighting in Siege with Vel'Koz, Yuumi, and Nidalee poke. Febiven actually does this the whole game, basically never going mid and only grouping in a fight when he brings someone to catch a side lane wave, so we're not going to go further than this. But I'm sure you're wondering, what was the enemy team supposed to do to prevent this? It's actually really simple, but this kind of Fiesta gameplay happens all the time, especially in the lower ranks. So if we go back to here, when Febiven pushed top wave all the way in and they sent Teemo and Nidalee top to try and kill Kindred and Rise, if you look at the minimap, look how dark Herald is for Febiven's team. They have no vision at all. So instead of chasing stupidly like this, they could have used their vision control to take Herald for free or kill Febiven's team if they tried to contest. We all know what happens when Teemo has his shrooms up around an objective and you're trying to face check brushes, while also taking Nidalee spears to the face from out of vision. It's a nightmare. That was option 1. But let's say Herald was already gone. Option 2 would be to just group mid and start sieging and pushing. Vel'Koz, Nidalee, Sivir, and Yuumi have a lot of poke, and they win 5v5. If they land their poke while sieging, they get towers for free even if Rise is splitting, which can end up forcing Rise to have to come back and help wave clear. After that though, it gets situational. It is information for a different video. Alright, you should have a much better idea now on how split pushing works, why it's strong, and also how to counter it depending on each team comp. But that's going to be it for this video. We hope you enjoyed and thanks for watching.